Bump and run shots, or a garden variety basic chip shot around the green, sometimes can cause some issues for some golfers. And I think that half of that comes from misconceptions of what we should or should not do when we're hitting a little bump and run shot. And so let's talk about a couple keys that we want to make sure that happen. And if you just stick with this prescription, you're going to be well on your way. First and foremost is that we want the sole of the club, the bottom of the club, that's what needs to interact with the turf. There's a conception that you need to hit down with the leading edge and hit the ball then the ground. In fact, it's the opposite. We want to let the sole of the club hit the ground and actually let it hit just a little bit before the golf ball or behind the golf ball. Okay, so the club should actually be coming in on a flatter angle and brushing the grass right here, not coming down on a sharp angle. So what happens is, if we hit down on too sharp of an angle and we think ball then ground, that leading edge starts to get into the ground and then it starts to dig. And then if we chunk some or dig too much, we instinctively pull up with our arms and our hands or our torso, and we start then thinning shots or blading shots. So the sole of the club is there to help us. All this material, all the meat to the bone, so to speak, is there to hit the ground. So don't be afraid to hit the grass. That's where people go wrong. And so if I just set up, I'm going to have a neutral setup. I'll have the ball about in the middle of my feet with the shaft neutral to maybe ever so slightly leaning forward, versus the old adage of ball back, hands forward, weight forward. All that does is make me hit down and the club can get stuck in the ground, and then we start pulling up with our arms or our body to not chunk it. So our prescription is going to be a narrowish stance, ball in the middle of our feet, with maybe just an extra 5 or 10% of weight on your front foot at most. The shaft might be just barely forward, okay? And as I go back, I'm going to keep my wrist very quiet. For a basic chip shot, I like to think about swinging the club head approximately knee high. So if I swing back knee high and my wrists stay quiet versus active or setting, okay, or cocking the wrist, which we don't want, that promotes a downward sharp angle of approach. We don't want that. So ball in the middle, wrists very quiet, shaft will maybe be gently forward, wrists quiet, go back about knee high, and then when I come in, now the angle of approach is more flat or shallow, and now I actually can hit with the sole versus weight forward, ball back, setting the wrist and getting the club stuck in the ground. So let me demonstrate one. Ball in the middle, weight maybe just slightly forward, handle slightly forward. Okay, wrists quiet, thump, and just a little bit of a natural turn. And I hit that very cleanly. So I have a saying, and this is appropriate for almost all shots around the green: chip shots from the rough, pitch shots from short grass, pitch shots from long grass, bunker shots. Have more sole in your short game. Utilize the sole. That's going to help the club to get down to the ground, but also help the club to continue to slide versus dig. Have more sole in your short game. That's going to help.